Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're going to be talking about the spell Mind Blank.
No thoughts. All
No.
head empty. Mind blank. Well, kind of the opposite, actually.
Yeah, I bet you got some thoughts on this one.
Okay. So Mind Blank is an 8th level abjuration spell. You have to touch somebody. It's a 24-hour duration, verbal somatic. Again, I'm going to rephrase or restate it. It's an 8th level spell. It takes 1 action, and it's only 3 lines of text. Until it ends, one willing creature you touch is immune to psychic damage, and the effect that would sense its emotions or read its thoughts, divination spells, and the charm condition. So it's immune to all that. This spell, then, it has this writer text, which, again, this text isn't really rules text, and more so just like this is the scope of how it works. The spell even foils wish spells and spells or effects of similar power used to affect the target's mind or to gain information about the target. So basically, this is going incognito. This is dropping off the face of the planet. This is, in the modern era, going dark, right? This is I threw myself into the abyss and drove 4,500 miles and then got off that and then got on a boat and then took that boat and then sank that boat and then ran naked into the Alaskan wilderness. And that's now I'm no longer able to be found. That's the kind of level of you can't find me. I no longer exist. That Mind Blank is supposed to give you. I don't think that's good.
Well, I don't know, good or bad. It's just the games I've played. This has never been a situation that I've really run into a lot. Where, I look at the text on Mind Blank and skip. I'll go look for a spell that's more jives with what I'm likely to encounter in a game.
Or just like a spell that's more exciting to use, right? I have such a hard time as a player wanting to cast this because nothing happens.
Right.
It very distinctly makes things not happen. That's all it really does. And that's kind of boring. I don't know. It's my opinion.
Yeah, you're working so hard with your character. You're finally at the point where you get 8th level spells. Is this the one you're going to pick? I don't know. I'm not saying it's not useful. I mean, I'm sure there are occasions or instances where you'd this would be beneficial for you, especially maybe at that tier of play, but I don't. Snore.
So I'm not even sold like that's the case. And the main reason I am, okay, so the spell kind of does 2 somewhat separate things in that the one thing it does is things can't gain information about you. And the other thing it does is you become immune to charm, divination spells, period, which usually are used to gain information about you, but there's maybe a few here and there that like, oh no, it affects your mind or something that makes you take damage. Psychic damage, those are the 3 other things. So divination spells, psychic damage, and charmed, and then people can't gather information about you. The information gathering thing is what I've been talking about so far. And if you are in the upper tier of play, you're a member of a party. If you can't be scryed on, your barbarian certainly can. And if you cast this barbarian, you can be scryed on. So if we're looking at like gathering information about the general scope and area around you, I don't know. I have a hard time. Does this negate spells that don't specifically target you, but you would be included in? If I would, because of how bad the spell is, I would say yes, that has to be the case. But if it's not the case, this spell is dookie, because then even worse than it already is, because then even the one use case where you would want to use it to stop the evil mind flayer, overlord, hive mind creature, the elder brain from scrying on you, no longer really works because they can just pick a different party member.
Yeah.
But let's assume it does work that way. That's still kind of whatever. They can use mundane means of espionage. That hasn't left the realm of existence. Human history hasn't needed a particularly robust magical system to figure out what everyone else is doing. So you have to really care about the first parts. And the first parts are like, are you battling mind flayers? If so, pretty good. Are you battling anything else? Yeah, that's not it.
Now, I noticed it has it gives you immunity to charm spells, but it doesn't do anything about fear, correct?
Nope.
Yeah,
I think so. It does. Again, I'm interested because it says of similar power used to affect the target's mind or gain information about them, right? So used to affect the target's mind, I think could be ruled incredibly liberally, in which case, like, if a fear effect, like if something is implanting something in your brain that would frighten you, this beats that effect, does a dragon's frightful presence, is that magical, or is it just like a mechanical way of saying you're like most characters should be afraid of this, right? And if it's magical, this should stop it, and if it's not magical, it shouldn't.
I don't know,
think.
because like they specifically called out charm, but
Yeah,
not fear. I don't know. I just think that's
it's
something they could have
weird.
tacked on there to make it a little more appealing, but not enough for me to care.
Yeah, I still wouldn't cast it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd cast it if I had it, but I wouldn't have it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not taking this spell ever, unless
Yes.
there's a very, very specific game. I mean, if you're a bard, certainly not. If you're a wizard, also certainly not. Like, there's way better things you can be doing with both those spell lists. And bards, albeit worse than wizards, but not that much worse. Not enough that you're like, yeah, mind blank is on the table.
Yes, something it might be handy to have on a scroll or something.
Yeah, this feels like something that you would look to seek out to purchase some of whenever you were going to go fight against a thing that is good at this, and not something you would want to necessarily have to spend your own class resources on if you intend to adventures beyond this, right? If the big finale is go invade the Mind Flayer colony up on, planet Mars that's outside this plane and, do some Spelljammer nonsense, then yeah, sure, maybe this is your top end fantasy. Maybe you don't intend to go past killing a giant elder brain, and then you put this on somebody, and that somebody's going to have a very good time against the Mind Flayers. The rest of your party's still not. But, if your Barbarian doesn't take damage anymore, period, that's pretty good. So that's something you can consider, I guess.
Yeah, so what else we got? We got the charm thing, the information thing, and the psychic damage. Anything to say about that?
There are next to no creatures in this game that deal psychic damage. There are very few. The reason why I keep saying Mind Flayers, and honestly, Mind Flayers aren't even that great because they have a bite attack. So even if you're fighting against specifically a Mind Flayer, you will ignore the initial damage you take whenever it grabs onto your brain. But then the rest of the damage is piercing. The rest of it is drilling into its skull and eating and extracting your brain. So the actual use case there is still kind of suspect because, again, it's decent. You turn off half of the Mind Flayer's damage set, specifically when they're trying to extract your brain. Any other instance when they're casting spells and stuff, this probably isn't doing a whole lot. They are still full casters. They can still have Fireball and whatever else they want.
Speaking of casters, the creatures aren't the only things you have to worry about, but how many psychic damaging spells are there that you?
Very few.
Yeah, I'm thinking Vicious Mockery.
There are more in the supplemental books.
All right.
But like, I truthfully can't even think any off the top of my head for the PHP. There's definitely at least a few.
Yeah. But not enough to make this worth it.
Yeah, agreed. There's a reason why, like, you'll see Totem Barbarians, they have resistance to everything but psychic damage. And then the DMs will be like scouring the multiverse trying to find things that deal psychic damage. And like per CR, like per tier of play, there's like one creature per full block of like 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and up. It is just so sparse to be able to have ways to attack a different pool of hit points, which makes the Totem Barbarian just feel like, oh yeah, no, you just have resistance to all damage because psychic damage is literally that infrequent. Again, maybe there'll be a situation where it's coming, and in that situation, sure, add it to your wizard spellbook, I guess. Maybe, probably not. It just gets cooler.
All right, well, I think beating that horse to death. You got a rating?
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 2 because there will be rare games where you'll either have the ability to cast this on more than one character at a time, and be able to like. It'll be a very important tool in some counter espionage, high magic, spelljammer kind of setting. It'll be exactly the one environment where it is really important to have a spell that is that powerful at counteracting other sensory effects. Outside of that, the spell's uncastable. If you're at any average table not playing the spelljammer high fantasy, enemy has a suite of casters trying to divine your location and will use that to summon baddies on top of you constantly, there's no reason to take this.
Yeah, 2 sounds about right. It's if I ever have a character that gets up to 8th level spells, this will not be one that I'm taking.
So, how can you get excited about like, oh my god, I just got 15th level, I can learn Mind Blank? No one has ever said that in the history of this planet.
All right, well, that was Mind Blank. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.